So in the simplest terms, conation is a part of the mind. So we start with the 3 parts of the mind framework that Aristotle and Plato wrote about. It's something that's long been established: the thinking, the feeling, and the doing, or more formally called the cognitive, the affective, and the conative.
And this concept goes back literally thousands of years to the ancient Greek philosophers. Well, the thinking and feeling parts are a little more, well, we've talked about them more. Certainly we've learned about them, we've talked about them, we've discussed them, certainly in modern times. You know, the thinking, how smart you are. You go to school to learn stuff so that you can do it well. You learn math, you learn writing, you learn history, whatever else. That's the cognitive part.
The affect being about personality, motivation, what are your values, kind of what you want to do.
We all know the language of extrovert and introvert, or, you know, whether you're likable, agreeable, or disagreeable.
Third part of the mind is the conative part of the mind. So conation is about the doing, and it is about the fact that everyone has these striving instincts, or a way that you most naturally take action. And it is innate to you, it is unchanging, so it's this kind of missing piece of how people get things done.
This conative part of the mind, this pattern in the way we take action, I think sometimes it's harder to observe, it's harder to isolate, is a better way to put it maybe. Because look, when we operate, we're using all of who we are, not just our mind, we're using our body, we're using all kinds of things.
So we have an assessment called the Kolbe Index. That's kind of our flagship assessment. It's 36 questions, and it's going to ask you what would you most likely do and least likely do if free to be yourself.
The key thing about conation is there are 4 what we call action modes that, you know, it's fact finder, follow through, quick start, and implementer.
Start with fact finder. Fact finder is how you gather and how you share information. And it is on a continuum of someone who is very specific, will start with details, will research, will certainly dig in depth or look historically before they take action, all the way up to someone on the other end of the continuum who will naturally simplify. They're going to bottom line. They're going to absolutely look for ways to condense data and consolidate. So we really say that that strength is to simplify. And then, of course, within that continuum, there's something in between. So people that will edit data or, you know, use information that has already been gathered to solve problems. With follow through is again how we organize and design. So this is someone who on one end of the continuum will very naturally focus on a traditional system. So these are our people that will finish one thing before they start another. They will create a plan. This is someone who is excellent with timelines and making sure that we are checking off all the boxes before we move on. So procedures and processes come very naturally to people like that. The other end of the continuum are the people that we really need to be adaptable, because sometimes the plan doesn't work. So when things don't go according to plan, we need someone who's going to adapt and vary the approach. Quick start is how we deal with risk and uncertainty. So risk and uncertainty on one end of the continuum is someone who's just going to jump in. They're going to experiment. They are going to brainstorm. They might ask the question, what hasn't been done before? So it's about pushing for variety and having choices. Other end of the continuum is someone who is going to prevent chaos. So the other end of the continuum we really need to make sure that we aren't taking too many risks. They're the ones that are the stabilizers. So they will naturally say, why are we changing what's working? And they will make sure that we are not just changing for the sake of change. And implementer is how you handle space and tangibles. So think of it as a continuum from concrete to abstract. On one end of the continuum, this is someone who's actually going to build a solution, use handcrafted models, operate in a hands-on way, really focused on quality solutions and building something to last. Other end of the continuum, someone who's going to imagine a solution. So they will deal in the abstract and intangible kinds of notions.
Again, only 3 parts of the mind. If we only understand 2 of those 3, and there's a third of the human mind that we don't really get. No one teaches us what our strengths are in that area or teaches us how to use them to their fullest. It just makes life more of a grind than it needs to be.
There is this nature that you have that if no one imposed a way of getting things done on you, it's how you would get things done. So that Kolbe Index is where you're self-reporting what would you most likely and least likely do, and then we give you a result that basically shares all of your instinctive strengths.